Use a t-test to test the claim about the population mean mu at the given level of significance alpha using the given sample statistics. Assume the population is normally distributed. Claim mean or mu is not equal to 25. Level of significance alpha is equal to 0.05. The given sample statistics are x bar equals 26.5. The sample standard deviation equals 4.2, and the sample size n equals 15. Our choices here in my stat lab, we are told we're asked what are the null and alternative hypotheses. Choose the correct answer below. Now remember that the null hypothesis is always a statement of equality, and the alternative or hypothesis is always a statement of inequality. So in this particular case, when I look at this, I know that the claim is going to be mu is not equal to 25, which means that my alternative hypothesis H sub A will be mu is not equal to 25, since that is my statement of inequality, which leaves me with the null hypothesis of being mu is equal to 25. Okay, so now we will go ahead and we will look at each one of these choices, and this would be where the alternative hypothesis is mu is not equal to 25, and the null hypothesis is mu is equal to 25. And what we can do is we can go ahead into StatCrunch, and this may be a little blurry because this particular flash window will not increase in size. So we left click D, we will check answer, and we're good to go. The next part of this is going to be what is the value of the standardized test statistic. The standardized test statistic is, and then you've got the blinking answer field right here where the flashing mouse is, and we want to round to 2 decimal places as needed. Now you see that I've brought this into the notes so that we can read it in full size. What is the value of the standardized test statistic? The standardized test statistic is, there's the answer field, this blue box right here where my flashing cursor is, and we will round to 2 decimal places as needed. Now the easiest way to do this is to use StatCrunch, and if you are in the program in my stat lab, you'll see this button over to the right. This is available in the homework assignments, the quizzes, and the exams. If we left click on the StatCrunch button, StatCrunch will open up, which is a statistical software application program. It is similar in nature to Microsoft's Excel, and it is basically a less powerful version of SAS or SPSS, which are statistical application programs. And if we are in my stat lab like we are right now, if we left click this button that says StatCrunch, it will bring up another window, and this will be our StatCrunch window. And what we want to do is we want to either, if we're going to be using data, we'll copy the data into StatCrunch, or we'll be using something called summary stats. In this particular case, since we are looking at a problem that gives us our sample statistics right here, and it asks us to test a claim, and also gives us a level of significance right here of alpha equals 0.05. I can go ahead and use StatCrunch, bring it in, and we'll left click the stat button right here, and we're going to be using a t-test to test the claim. So we will highlight t-stats. We'll scroll over to where it says 1 sample, and since we are doing with summary, we'll left click with summary, and we'll see this new pop-up window. This is a Java applet, just like the whole StatCrunch window is. And I said Java, I meant JavaScript. And so we're going to indicate what our sample mean is, which in this case is 26.5. We'll put in the sample standard deviation, which in this case is 4.2. we will type in the sample size, which in this case is 15, and we are going to do a hypothesis test for mu. Remember, we're going to be using this right here to establish what our hypothesis test is. So we type in mu is equal to 25, and we're going to have mu being not equal to 25. Now, we could change it to less than or greater than, but for this particular problem, it's going to be a straight not equal to. We will left click the compute button, and we'll get yet another pop-up window. This particular pop-up window is going to give me my t-stat and my p-value. So we'll go ahead and bring that into the notes so that we can look at it in detail. So when looking at this, we see that the t-stat is given by 1.3832083. However, we only want to round to 2 decimal places as indicated right here. So this will simply round to 1.38. And that's what we would input into my stat lab. So let's go ahead and do that. Remember that we're inputting 1.38. And we are given the nice fuzzies from my stat lab. Nice work. Now the next part of the question is, what is the p-value of the test statistic? And we'll see that for this part of the question in my stat lab, the p-value will be rounded to 3 decimal places. And since we're going to do 3 decimal places, we will go ahead and look at the p-value up here in the pop-up window from StatCrunch, and we'll see that it is 0.1883. So rounding that to 3 decimal places, it would simply be 0.188. And then we'll go back into my stat lab. We will go ahead and input 0.188. Hit enter, and we see that we've done a good job. And then we move to the last part of this. So now we're looking at the fact that we want to decide whether to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis. Remember that we are looking at a significance level of alpha is equal to and we are going to compare that to our p-value, which in this case is equal to 0.188, and we would reject the null hypothesis if the p-value were less than the level of significance. But in this particular case, we have p is equal to 0.188, which happens to be greater than alpha, which is equal to 0.05. So we know that there is enough evidence to support the claim. And I apologize, I said there is enough evidence to support the claim. What I meant to say was there is not enough evidence to support the claim. So we will fail to reject the null hypothesis. We'll go ahead and go into StatCrunch, and we'll find that. We will left click it, and we will check our answer, and you see that we are done.